Hi, my name is Amitabh Singh, and I'm here to discuss one of the many controversial aspects of Budget 2016. And this relates to the taxation of employee provident fund benefits. Let's start with slide one to give you a general background on how the law is presently situated. Broadly, there are three types of provident fund benefits that we normally hear of. One is the statutory provident fund, which is basically reserved for government employees. These employees are basically people who have joined the government sector 2004 and prior period. The new joiners have generally been moved to the National Pension Scheme. It's governed by the EPF Act, and the exemptive provision under the Income Tax Act is Section 1011. The scheme of taxation that's followed is exempt, exempt, exempt. Then we have the Employee Provident Fund, or what we commonly known as the Recognized Provident Fund. It's available for the private and the public sector, and it's governed by a different statute, which is Employee Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. And it's been exempted under the Income Tax Act under a different section, which is Section 1012. Again, exempt, exempt, exempt. And finally, we have the Universal Public Provident Fund available to all, again exempted by Section 1011 and exempted under the EEE, or the exempt, exempt, exempt scheme. So this is the lay of the land as we speak. Next. So what has changed? What has changed? What has happened which has got all the salaried class in hackles? No changes in the statutory provident fund or the PPF fund rules. The only changes that have happened are what impacts employee provident fund or recognized provident fund. The changes are at two levels. One, at the time of contribution. The employer's contribution, which had hitherto a threshold of only 12% of employee's salary, now has a secondary threshold of 1,50,000 per annum, which means essentially that any contribution in excess of 150,000 per annum will be taxed on a current basis. The second change is at the time of withdrawal. As per the present Section 1012, the withdrawal from the provident fund, which is the accumulation standing to the credit of the employee or the SSE, is fully exempt from tax. But as per the proposed changes, it will not be that way any longer. Any contribution which an employee makes after 1st April 2016 will be taxed at the time of withdrawal to the extent of 60% of that accumulation. So in a way, some of it will get taxed unless the entire payout at the time of withdrawal is transferred to the national pension system. Mind you, this change only affects employees who are not excluded employees. The excluded employee threshold has not yet been defined, but it is expected that it will be employees who do not have salaries exceeding 15,000 rupees per month. Next. What's the stated purpose of the amendment? First of all, it's classified under rationalization measures in the memorandum, and anything classified under that head generally means that some benefits are being withdrawn, and this is one major example of that. The objective, the stated objective, is very clearly to bring greater parity between different types of pension schemes, and here the basic philosophy is to bring EPF, SAF, Superannuation Fund, and NPS, National Pension System, into some kind of a parity so that it's easier to select which pension scheme to go for, not on the basis of taxation, but on the basis of overall benefit. And third, to bring parity in the monetary limit of employers and employees' contribution. A somewhat dubious purpose, the third one, but that's what's being stated. Next. Because of the huge furor which got raised after the budget proposals were announced, the CBDT came out with further set of clarifications, which has not really helped, but let's go through the main theme of those clarifications. The idea behind the proposed changes is to encourage people to invest in pension products rather than withdraw the entire corpus as soon as it is available and possibly fritter it away. So the government wants to sort of make sure that when people at the time of retirement withdraw their pension, their provident fund balances, they don't just spend it away on useless things, but actually use it to buy pension products or annuity to secure their future livelihood. And the said reform, as per the press release, will impact only the high earning employees, the so called not excluded employees, which, as per their data, constitutes about 1/6 of the present strength of EPF contributories. So, in effect, what they're saying is that the general class of people are not impacted. It's the richy rich sections who are being impacted, and rightly so. So, the common people should not be worried. Next. What's the immediate impact? The immediate impact, whether it's the rich or the not so rich, is to immediately re-evaluate what kind of retirement planning you have done currently. Are you still going to have a certain amount of corpus available to you, or that has suddenly got eroded because of the taxation which will come into play if this proposed amendment becomes law? And of course, it will impact the new joiners of the workforce, particularly those joining after 1st April 2016, because in effect, all their contributions will be subject to taxation to the extent of 60% of the accumulation. And in effect, the longer the remaining length of service, the greater is going to be the impact. Next. Some points to think about, ponder. One, there is a definite shift from the exempt philosophy to the exempt taxation, a scheme of taxation already embodied in the national pension system. So there is absolutely no ambiguity that NPS is going to be the flagship retirement product of the future, and most of the other retirement social security products are going to somehow dovetail into that. There is one aspect of potential double taxation of employees' contribution. It's not that ATC benefit is only limited to employees' contribution to Provident Fund. ATC covers a very wide basket of savings, investments, even repayment of loans. And it's not necessary that the employee's contribution to Provident Fund is what is taken or availed by an SSES deduction under ATC. So, in effect, there is a distinct possibility that the employee's contribution is taxed at the present time and is again taxed at the time of withdrawal, which somehow goes against the basic tenets of taxation. The other aspect, which is slightly galling, is that in contradiction to what has been stated in the press release and certain other public statements, as per the wordings of the law, it seems that it's not good enough to just deposit or transfer 60% of your accumulation to NPS to avoid taxes. It seems that the entire accumulation has to be transferred to the national pension system to safeguard that 60% that is going to be taxed going forward. So, in effect, there is a possibility of certain modification in the amendments, in the proposed amendments, in view of the sharp public reaction. The law could have been better worded to avoid all this confusion. But still, everything is not lost. There's still time to make amendments which are clearer and which also assuage the fear of the working class, of the contributors to a large extent. Thank you.